Hello, hello, and welcome. You're listening to Light Sprinkles, and I'm Spring Ulrich, your host, here to sprinkle as much love and light upon your journey, bringing you healing tips and tools and inspiration to spring your life forward. And today, our topic is keys to accomplishment. And right now, in this time and place, I know that there's that feeling of the whole world falling apart in a lot of ways. And that feeling, especially if you're going through depression or the loss of someone or the loss of something that was really important to you, it can be really easy to have that feeling and very normal to have that feeling of your world falling apart and you're just trying to figure out how you fit into it. The world is falling apart. Your world may be falling apart, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to fit into it now. Now that it's all fallen apart, whether it's a death of a loved one, someone that you're really close to, a divorce or a broken relationship, a loss of a job or a career. There's so much that can create that feeling of loss and grief and the feeling that your entire world is falling apart. And right now, especially during this incredible time, this unprecedented time of this coronavirus and everything that it entails with the entire world and the whole planet, feeling so much coming apart and breaking up of the old, making way for the new way of being can feel so uncertain and certainly very ungrounding. So I wanted to touch on the topics of how to combat that with some tools. I wanted to be able to bring you some tools and some tips to be able to utilize in practical ways to increase your energy, your vibration, and to really be clear on the ways of being able to move toward your accomplishments, toward your goals, and to be able to see those accomplishments actually come to fruition, and being gentle and kind with yourself within that process. So today I was going through and I was feeling that sense and that feeling because it is so warm in the area where I live and it's so beautiful and it's just been super, super hot actually. And it's summer. It is summertime right now here where I'm at. And normally in a regular time of summer, it would be celebrating that we're not doing school and I'm not homeschooling. It would feel this very lighthearted. We are off, we're celebrating, we're traveling, doing fun adventures and trips, and just on a regular day, lounging around outside in the sprinklers or going to the gym and going for a swim at our wonderful pool that we have access to with a little lazy river and diving boards and all that fun stuff that the kids really enjoy. And right now, with the coronavirus, pretty much everything is shut down as far as activities and fun things to be able to do in a group or otherwise with all the social distancing going on. And I was really feeling that sadness on my heart and that frustration and that calling on my heart to have fun. Like I just wanted to be able to celebrate summer and to be able to go on adventure and play and discover and just be in that really juicy, wonderful summertime experience. And then I just got to be with that and say, you know what? What is fun? I watched a video the night before on some wonderful gal who was talking about dance, and she had for one of her rules that her dance was the rule in her group was that there's no having fun, that you can't pick it up and have it, that it's an attitude. It's an attitude of being. You get to be fun. You don't just have fun. It's a sense of being. And when I was doing my journal work today, my soul writing, when I was doing my soul writing, I came to the understanding and was writing out that and recognizing that you can be having the most epic adventure, the most grand and wonderful outside experience. You could be doing the most exciting thing, an epic adventure, and be miserable in that experience. You can be absolutely having the worst time and having a really bad attitude. And there are times when you can be doing the most simple thing in life and having such a blast and so much fun and having so much pleasure. So it really truly is an attitude and a choice to recognize and remember, hey, how am I showing up today? How am I going to be? What am I going to choose? So when I was able to shift that and say, you know what, it's not about the outside experience or how grand of an adventure I'm able to provide for my kids, whether it's going to a grand swimming adventure or getting out and doing XYZ, fill in the blank, whether it's traveling or going to the beach or whatever. It's more of how I'm being. Am I being fun? Am I bringing that energy and that fun and that adventure in the simple moments? And in that experience, I got to recognize that. And I really did take time with my daughter this evening and just sat with her and I read with her. Now, this might seem really simple and mundane, but it is something that I love doing. And I love that time with her. And it is so fun because we ended up reading Mo Willems' Piggy and Gerald books, which we absolutely love and adore. And we read 3 of those and moved on to another book. And then we were just snuggling and playing and rolling around on the floor. And I had my legs up in the air, and she was hanging and dangling down by my feet. And I was flipping her one way and flipping her the other, and singing a song, and just having a really just making up silly songs. And that was just such a high for me today, and such a wonderful. I was being fun with her. I was playful, and I was just bringing so much joy. And I was actually conscious when I was doing that this is the simple pleasures. These are the things that fill my cup, that I get to take in my daily doses of my vitamins, that fill me up, that bring me that joy. And it doesn't matter where I'm at, that it's how I'm showing up and how I'm choosing to be, and recognizing that it's in those sweet, simple pleasures that are truly the funnest parts for me, that it doesn't matter where I'm at. I can find them, I can have them, and I can enjoy them no matter what the outside circumstances is whatever's going on. I can choose to step into that more fun, that adventurous feeling, and being that. So I invite you to do that as well, to be fun and be in the joy and be in your adventurous self. That it really takes sometimes just that conscious awareness and choosing in leaning into that. And I also wanted to go over the keys to accomplishment. And what I really know is that the key to any accomplishment that you might have, or a goal, and in here we're talking about how can we figure out who we are within this new world or this experience. Say you have experienced a death of someone that you love and your entire foundation has been rocked, or any other kind of tragedy, trauma, upset, or something that is really causing you significant grief. And how do we move forward in that? How do we build something new and find ourselves in making that personal growth and accomplishment? And the first thing in your way of being within this new world that you're experiencing in this new chapter of your life is to recognize that it's the first and the most important key is in doing that one step, taking that one step. And that might be the choice I'm going to choose to be happy, or I'm going to choose to feel gratitude at least once a day. I'm going to choose to work on my mindset, or I'm going to choose to eat healthy foods or move my body. Whatever it is you know that you're being called to do, that you know is in your best and highest good in this moment, and it's making that first step. Taking that first step. That's the most important thing. And in doing that one thing at a time, doing that one step and becoming really masterful at that. It's like the beautiful metaphor of reading a book, right? Reading a book, how do you do that? How do you read an entire book? Well, first, it's reading a book means reading one word at a time, and then one sentence at a time, and then one paragraph at a time, and then one page at a time until you're turning the page. And then you grow more and more through each word that you read, through each sentence and a paragraph and the next paragraph until you get through the next page. And it's just one word, one sentence, one page at a time. And that's how we get through the book, and how we turn the pages in our own personal life, in our own book, is by doing that one step at a time and being consistent and committed to it and continuing on, continuing the reading, continuing your steps, continuing your growth. And that's how to achieve accomplishing reading that book. And that's how to achieve continuing your own personal growth and seeing accomplishments to whatever goal, whatever dream, and whatever activity or thing that you want to achieve, is to be able to take the step and be consistent with that step and getting masterful with that step. So that's the number one key. And another key to be able to open up the doors to the accomplishment is the patience with your growth. Being patient with myself and how I think it needs to look, whether it's through time, whether it's through how it's received, how that gift comes in, whether it's, say you're wanting a certain amount of money to arrive into your bank account and you expect it to come through your job, and being fixed on that it needs to come through that avenue and closing yourself off to any other possibilities may not be in your best and highest good. It may not be the way that money is going to be the vehicle to come. It might be coming through some other avenue. So just being open to how it looks and the timing of the situation, and being patient with your own growth, being patient with the steps that you're taking and the way in which they're unfolding. That would be my number 2 key. Would be the patience with yourself, just giving yourself that grace and the forgiveness and how it looks in the way that it unfolds. And patience with the timing, patience with how you expect it to look. If you expect to have success in say your fitness goals or your growth in your business, if it doesn't happen by a certain date, does that mean that everything you've done up until this point is null and void, or that it didn't mean anything? No, you're still growing. You just may not have reached that goal yet, or maybe you've surpassed it and maybe it's even going to be better. So just being patient with how it unfolds and how it's organically coming about, and giving yourself grace on the timing, because that's one area where I know I can be have an extra challenge and difficulty with myself, is feeling the timing, feeling that sense of being behind on my goals or on my situation and where I'm headed and how I am how I'm moving forward. That sense of being late or being behind, and that I'm needing to hustle to get things done quicker than I'm actually having them accomplished and seeing them be achieved. Even if I am making steady progress and steady strides, it can be easy for that critical part of my mind to say, hey, you're behind, or you're not doing it fast enough. So just reminding yourself and stopping that negative talk. If that's something that you have a challenge with as well, to recognize it. Thanks for sharing. And I'm choosing to allow myself and forgive myself and give myself grace and give myself the ability to recognize that growth can happen in its own time and in its own way, and to be able to enjoy the journey, and that it doesn't have to all happen at once, and that's okay. That even the greats, I was listening to a YouTube video on Oprah Winfrey and talking about all of her wonderful highlights and great information. And one of the things that she talked about was that it takes, there's beauty in knowing that the great people who have achieved great things, that they've got at least 10,000 hours into that greatness. That it doesn't just happen overnight, even though it looks like someone on the other end, that it just happened instantaneously. That there's so many hours of practice and grit and perseverance and being in that growth, 10,000 hours to achieve any of that greatness. And to expect that it's going to just happen immediately is perhaps a false expectation. So just being able to let go of any of those beliefs and of that you're behind or that you aren't doing enough. Look at what you actually are doing. Look at the steps you are doing, even if they're not perfect, even if they're not happening on the time frame you think they're supposed to happen. To be able to celebrate that and give that a go. Try that on, see how that fits. Another key, the third key is to open that door of accomplishment is rest. Rest and recovery. Because in trying to get that forward momentum, it can take a lot of energy to get that going. And there gets to be that balance of the rest and recovery, especially if you're in grief, especially if you're in any sort of trauma situation, or one of the major life-changing situations, from loss of job, loss of a person, ending of a relationship of any kind, change in your medical or your health. There's so many things that top the list of super stressors. And if you're in any of that, it is essential to get that rest and that recovery and give yourself that grace to be able to rest and rejuvenate and sleep. So rest, recovery, and rejuvenation in your sleep are essential parts of creative living. And let's face it, if we have had any of this in our lives, any of these things from depression or loss, and huge falling apart of our world experiences, that we're in a position of getting to recreate what's next, or getting to create what is next. So in that, you're living a creative life. You're creating how it's going to be next, how it's going to look next, even if you don't know what steps to take yet. That rest and recovery and sleep are essential for creative living and for a creative life, and creating what you're going to get to do next, and accomplishing what that next chapter, what that next piece and part of your life is going to look like. So the fourth key to opening that accomplishment is committed action. And we've talked about this already a little bit, but I really wanted to give it its own highlight, because it really does take the committed action. That even when you have setbacks, even when it doesn't look the same as you thought in your mind for it to look, even when you don't do that committed action, say you have a goal to wake up at a certain time every day, and you don't hit that for several days, or for 7 days in a row, or 2 weeks in a row, whatever it is. The committed part is that you continue to try, you continue to remember that goal, that you continue to strive toward that, and you reevaluate and take your inventory and say, well, how can I readjust that? Do I need to go to bed earlier? What is making it so that I can't do this? Do I need to set an alarm? Do I get to do some things in my day earlier so that I can give myself permission to go to bed earlier? What are the things that you get to do to continue on your committed action? Even if you haven't been doing the steps, but it's on your mind and you know that it's really important, that you've made a commitment and then you've had some setbacks, can you get back into the committed action? Can you get back into taking the small steps, even if they're small, and reevaluating where you're at to be able to continue to move forward? And like I said, it doesn't always look perfect. It's not going to always look perfect. We're not going for perfect and perfection, because that really is unattainable and not sustainable. We're looking at growth and progress. And as long as you can see that growth and progress, you're doing amazing. Even if it's just teeny tiny baby steps. That's beautiful and perfect just in its own. To be able to continue to just move forward in those small little steps and progress. Even if you have 2 steps back, that you continue to put one foot in front of the other and continue to move forward. So stay in that committed action and reevaluate when you are not in the committed action. How can I get back into it? Why am I not in committed action? And really question yourself on why. Why am I not in committed action? If this is really important to me, ask yourself, first of all, why did I take the committed action in the first place? Is it my priority? Does it deserve my energy? And what's the bigger reason I want to do this thing? And what are the reasons that are holding me back? What are the fears that are coming up? What things are stopping me from taking the committed action? And how can I readjust a few things or move them out of my way to be able to get closer to that committed action that I want to do, to see that accomplishment that I want to do in my life and to receive and have? And the 5th item of the key to opening your accomplishments and the door to your accomplishments is your flexibility. And here in the flexibility, it's just like if a tree does not bend in the wind, it will break. It really will. If it doesn't have enough flexibility and be able to sway even just a little bit, it's more susceptible to breaking. So being able to be flexible with ourselves and let go of the guilt from not having our lives look the way we think in our mind it should be and that needs to be, and being more flexible in the parameters that we set for ourselves. And if we need to adjust that parameter, say if it's the bedtime again, if you are wanting to get up early in the morning and you find yourself sleeping in or not accomplishing that goal, why is that happening? Is it that you're getting to bed too late? And if you do, then being able to be flexible with that on the other end, if you can be flexible with that, to be able to get your sleep in, and to be able to let go of the guilt if you do need to adjust the parameters, if you do need to adjust your schedule to make things work for you on one end because the other end didn't work. And maybe it's just looking at it a little differently and taking the perspective of a different perspective. Would you look at yourself as critically and as harshly as you're looking at yourself if you were looking at the situation if it was happening to someone else? Would you be as hard and critical and mean to yourself if that's what you're doing? Would you be more flexible if you were talking to a friend who was having the same issue? Would you be more forgiving of them? Or would you be less? Chances are you'd be more forgiving of someone else than you would be yourself. So just giving yourself that love and that grace, that forgiveness, and the flexibility that you may need to organically grow. It's just like a tomato plant, being able to give it some parameters, but if it goes outside the parameter of that little cage that you give it to support it, if it goes outside of that, you don't get mad and upset about the tomato plant doing that. It simply is being what it is. So if you need to go outside the parameters of your own experience and your own your parameters that you set for yourself, and if you need to flow in and out of that sometimes, then giving yourself that grace to be able to do so, and perhaps easing up on yourself will allow you to grow more organically and more beautifully, and certainly will allow you to feel a lot better if you're not being so hard and critical on yourself, and allow you to even perhaps take more steps because you're not being beat up so much by yourself. So try that on, see if that key assists you in opening more doors to your accomplishments. And the last one I want to share with you today on your keys to your accomplishments is to celebrate. I've talked about this a lot in my YouTube and podcasts, but I feel like it's really important because I'm working on it for myself as well, to be able to celebrate my accomplishments and remember all of the things that I have done, that I am doing well at. Because again, that critical mind and that negative nagging can take over so easily. And so just remembering to say, I did this task, I did that. Look at the steps I am achieving. Look at the steps I am doing. Rather than just focusing on maybe the couple of items that you haven't achieved or haven't done that day. If you can focus on the long list that you have been doing and your efforts, celebrating the wins and saying, yes, I've given it my best today and I've done what I can. Even if it's just a small step, even if it's just getting up out of bed that morning, lacing up your shoes and going for a walk around your block. Even if it's just getting up and having that one healthy meal in that day. Or reaching out for assistance from someone else and calling a friend and saying, hey, I'm not doing well. I need support. I need help. Whatever that is, to be able to get you to a more easeful situation and accomplishment. So celebrate yourself in all of the things that you're doing toward springing yourself forward in your life. I want to give you a few bonuses today in our time here, in remembering that fun. Remember, we talked about at the beginning of our time today that fun and the adventure, that it's a choice. It's about a beingness. It's not necessarily about the outside circumstance that's happening. And of course, it's easier to be in a happy love vibration when everything's going great. It absolutely is. And I definitely know that. And I also know through my own personal experience of being a widow and going through grief and the loss that I've experienced, that it's absolutely possible to continue to choose joy and happiness in the midst of deep desperation, despair, and having your world fall apart. That it's absolutely possible to still reach for those things and to still it's tangible to choose that joy and that happiness. Now, maybe it's not going to be constant all the time because that's life. There's the ups and the downs. But what I do know, and what has been shared so beautifully from one of my coaches, again, Danette May, is that your frequency is more powerful than your strategy. So whatever strategy that you have, it doesn't really matter your strategy, whether it's within your business, your personal goals, your fitness, your finance goals, whatever it is in your life. It doesn't matter the strategy, the hows. It's the frequency in which you're holding, your attitude, and how you're feeling in your body, how you're feeling in your being, how aligned you are with your mind, and what you're focusing on within your mind. Whatever we think, then we feel and we experience. So your frequency, where you're having your energy and your vibration, is more important than your strategy. And I wanted to be able to share with you some powerful parenting questions, because I believe that questions are really a powerful way to get better results in our lives and to get better answers. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you that can be a powerful parenting question, as well as a powerful question in general for any problem, and especially try it on in the arena and area of parenting, is the question. Say something happens, and I'll use it in the parenting realm, but you can really use this in any area, like I said, that you feel that you'd like to try it on in, and I'd love to hear any feedback on how you might use these questions. In the parenting arena, when there's an upset between your children, if you have more than one, or there's something that's really frustrating to your child, they're having a tantrum, there's an upset of whatever kind, and you hear and you sense your child having this upset, and maybe you are starting to get upset yourself. You can take a breath, lean back, and ask your child, like really try to center yourself and come from a place of compassion for yourself and your child, and just say, okay, and ask your child, how can I serve you better? And then just wait for the answer. And I bet you that if you have not done this before, that your child will stop in their tracks and maybe not even believe that they heard you right the first time, and be like, what? This isn't your normal response. I don't understand what's happening here. So they may continue just being in their trauma and their drama that they're already in. But if you say, excuse me, hold on a minute. I want to know, how can I serve you better here? And get their brain working on that question. And they might just answer it in a really surprising and beautiful and amazing way. And then be just open to listening to hear what their response is. Now, obviously, if you're having the battle of buckling into the car seat, and it's non-negotiable that they may not go for a ride without being safe, and that they have to have their buckle on, and this is the tantrum, then this may not be the opportunity to bring up that question, but maybe it really is. Maybe you can say, excuse me, how can I serve you better here? If they say, well, I don't want to wear the seatbelt. You can just serve me by letting me not have the seatbelt. I'm sorry, I cannot do that. This is for your safety. So how else can I assist you? How else can I serve you in getting what needs aren't being met for you right now? What other needs would you like to have right now? What else can we do that would bring you more joy? And the other question to ask and to follow up with that is, what is the kindest choice here? In the middle of a tantrum. That could be another question just in of itself. What is the kindest choice here? So if your child's having a hard decision, or it isn't used to making a lot of choices, and giving them more choices, it can be a powerful parenting tool and a way to get more ease and cooperation, and fill their cup for autonomy. And the other question to be able to tap into is, how can we all win here? So being able to say, how can I best serve you? It's, how can we best solve this? How can we best solve this? What's the kindest choice? And how can we all win here? So I know that I had mentioned, how can I serve you? That's another wonderful question. But another powerful question that you can use in any problem solving is, how can we best solve this? How can I best solve this? When you're faced with any problem, you can ask yourself that, whether it's parenting or any other problem. How can I best solve this? And just being with that question to allow for the answer and to explore possibilities of the best way to solve the problem. And what's the kindest choice? So how can we best solve this? What's the kindest choice? And how can we all win here? How can we all be winners in this resolution and this solving of this problem? Because I want us both to win. And when we use those questions within our own lives with any problem, or with our children especially, then I feel that we'll create more winners, and we'll create more compassion, more kindness, and better solving of our issues and our problems and our upsets that come up. And we'll just all get to win. So if you can get more conscious and ask better questions, perhaps this problem can be solved in a much more kind fashion, and allow your child or anything within that's having the problem to have that more compassion, that feeling of care, and being seen and heard and felt. So I hope that this time has been valuable to you today, and that you have taken a few nuggets with you, and that you're committed to trying some of these on in any way that you feel called to. And if you have found value, I would love to hear your feedback and how you're utilizing some of these tips and tools, and what they have created in your life and in your experience. And I would love to hear that from you. So you can find me on lightsprinkles.com. That's LIGHTSPRINGKLES.com. And you can find me on Light Sprinkles on YouTube and Light Sprinkles on podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode, and I look forward to our next episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening, and I appreciate your time and value you, and really and truly give yourself that celebration for allowing yourself to listen in and grab some nuggets for your own springing forward. Thanks for tuning in and listening again. Love you. Much love and light. Bye for now.